Joining us, Tarek Fatah, author of Chasing a Mirage, to discuss the tragic illusion of an Islamic State. So, in your own words, what is a Muslim versus an Islamist?
A Muslim is someone who believes in the 5 commandments of the Prophet and the Quran, which are very simple, which is the belief in the unity of God, the fact that we are all required to pay a wealth tax at the end of every year to the poor. 1 month a year for 30 days we fast to show solidarity with the poor and the hungry. If wealth permits, once in a lifetime we go to Hajj, and on a daily basis pray to God whenever, 5 times a day. But all these 5 requirements do not require a political entity. That is a Muslim. An Islamist is someone who uses the identity of Islam and in fact then goes on to say we can't do this without having a political authority. And so the use of Islam as a political tool is what makes a Muslim into an Islamist.
You comment on the conflict that occurred early after the Prophet's death in 632, and you mentioned that there are competing narratives. So how can we determine the most accurate account?
One way is to give reading to all accounts. We don't know which one is the right account. We need to accept how many accounts are there. And we need to study Islamic history as a subject of history, not as a subject of faith. The 2 main narratives are unfortunately divided in sectarian terms as the Shia and the Sunni. The fact remains that once the Prophet died, he was in his own house, and instead of looking after what would be done about his funeral or giving him his last rites, everybody rushed off to a place a few miles away where the people of Medina had gathered and were deciding to nominally elect one of their own as the leader of the Muslims. The other thing is that the Prophet never asked for a succession. The Quran didn't say that Muslims need to create a physical entity which is a political state. There's nothing wrong with them creating that, but my contention is it had more of an Arab characteristic than an Islamic characteristic.
Questioning clergy involves taking risks a lot of people aren't willing to take. So then what are the risks of remaining complacent?
Well, the risk of remaining complacent is that my fate will be the hands of the people who I least respect. These are people who, despite coming to Canada and the United States, despite living over here, still take the inspiration from terrible societies where the human spirit gets crushed. They propagate misogyny, the second-class status of women. They practice homophobia by declaring gays and lesbians as worthy of death, and then have the audacity to come on television and say, oh no, we give equal treatment to women. Women who we send to the back of the bus or in the basement in a mosque or the last row, we do so because we respect them. Do you think anyone's buying that? Long before we ask any non-Muslim to understand about Islam, Muslims need to understand Islam. Before that, they need to shed all these superstitious, magical acts that they think is part of Islam and get back to the 5 basic things, which is pay your charity, donate something, do something good, and if they really want to be respected, clear the neighbor's ice during an ice storm.
Yeah, like you say, bring Islam back to piety, not politics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.